Boys and girls, it's Mrs. Mangan, and today we're going to be working to create a bar graph. Yesterday we learned how to read bar graphs, but today we're going to create our own. So I took the data, what is your favorite color? And I have my chart here, my table. I have three choices, orange, red, and blue, and the number of votes coordinating with each. Before I make my bar graph, I'm going to remind myself of the different parts that I need. A bar graph has many parts. First are my axes. So I have my vertical axis here that has the scale, which tells how many votes or students or whatever I'm working with. That's the number here. And I also have a label telling my reader what this number means. On my horizontal axis, I have another label telling the reader what these bars are going to be. What are the categories of the bars? So in this case, it's students and it's divided into boys and girls. I also have this label that's showing exactly what each bar is, boys and girls. And then the big overarching category is students. So if I'm doing colors, I might have blue, red, green, and then colors. If I'm doing ice cream flavors, it might be chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and then ice cream flavors. So I have the labels for the bars, and I also have the labels for the full category. I also have my bars, and then perhaps one of the most important things that we often leave out is the title. What is this graph telling you about? What is the information? Now, I would even be more specific in my title, and I might say, um, the gender in my class, something that says specifically what is the reader of this graph going to get information about. So we've got our two axes, we've labeled our axes, we have our scale, our title, and our bars. So now let's go use that information about colors and what we know about what we need for bar graphing, and let's create our own. So I have a blank bar graph here, and I'm going to get out of present mode so I can show you how I'm going to go ahead and move pieces and write things so we can create our bar graph. So here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to think about a title. Now, these were the favorite colors of the kids I asked. So maybe my title is something simple like favorite color. And that's a title. So I'm going to maybe put it in the middle, make it bold. All right, so favorite color. So my reader knows what this graph is going to be all about. And now let's think about our axes. Here's my vertical axis here, which is where I'm going to have my scale. And that's going to be the number of votes, so the number of students who I surveyed. I'm going to go with the number of votes. All right. And I'm just going to put that in the middle as well. And here I've got my scale. And here, let's go back to our data. My scale has to coordinate with the amount of votes in all. So I never have anything more than 5 votes. So my scale does not need to go up to 20. It does not need to go up to 100. It doesn't even need to go up to 10. The highest my scale needs to go up to is 5. I'm going to go maybe a few over 5. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that the tallest one does not go to the tippy top. That's your choice. Just make sure that you've got a scale that is big enough to include the tallest one or the highest value of your votes or your choices. So I've got my vertical axis here. I let my reader know that these numbers mean the number of votes. And now I'm going to think about my horizontal axis. What are my students voting on? They're voting on their favorite color. So maybe I'm thinking down here, my label should be colors, right? Because that's what the students were voting on. I'm just going to pop that in the middle, making sure that if these were lowercase, I have uppercase letters to make sure that the reader knows that's a title. And we do that with uppercase letters for the first letter. And the font I've chosen just happens to be all capital. So now I need to give the reader some information about where the bars are and what they mean. So I'm going to label this one's going to be my orange category. This one's going to be my red category, and this one's going to be my blue category where all my bars are going to go. So I'm all set up. I know it's a graph about favorite color. On my vertical axis here, I've got my scale and my title of what the scale means. It's a number of votes. And then on my horizontal scale, I've got my title that the graph's going to be, the bars are going to show colors. Now, I want you to notice that my bars are not put right next to each other. That's actually a different type of graph called a histogram or histogram. So you don't want to put them right next to each other. You always want to leave space in between your bars for a bar graph. So now let's start to put together our bar graph. I'm going to find the orange category, and my data said that there were 5 votes for orange. So I can go ahead and put 5 votes. I'm going to build my bar. And notice that my bar is going to go up to 5. So I've got the 5 line here, my orange goes up to 5. With red, I only have 1 vote. So I'm going to put 1 vote, start at 0, and it goes to the 1 line. And for blue, I have 3 votes. So I'm going to drag my 3 boxes. Now, third graders, you can also do it as one giant one. So watch what I do. I'm just going to pull this up till I get to the 3. And then I've got a beautiful bar that's one continuous. Let's do that with the orange so that you can see how a bar graph truly looks. All right. So we had 5, and there are bars. They are not touching. They've got labels. I know exactly when I'm looking at this what kind of information I can gather. So I can see that orange got the most votes, red got the least amount of votes, blue is right in the middle. I can start thinking about how many more votes blue got than red, how many I got in all, and I can answer all sorts of questions about the favorite colors in this class. So now let's look at your work for today. When you're looking at your workbook pages for today, you're going to see that the data is given in these kind of animals. So it says, here are the savings of 5 children. There's piggy banks of the 5 children. So I'm going to look at the data. I have Amanda, David, Ben, Charlene, and Emma, and they all have different amounts. And the first thing that I'm going to do when I'm thinking about creating a bar graph, is I'm looking at the scale so that I know how to draw my bars. So let's look closely at this scale. I notice that where the y and x axis meet, it's always going to be 0. So that corner is always going to be 0. And now I see it goes up by 20, 20, 40, 60, 80. So what is that middle line going to be? It's going to be 10, right? Because half, right, between 0 and 20 is 10. So then what's going to be here? 20 and 40. What's this one? What's halfway between 20 and 40? It's 30. Good. So it goes 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160. So you'll see that Amanda has already been done for you. That Amanda's bar goes up to 160. For this, you guys are not going to have to create your own scale or your axes and labels, but you will have to create the bars. So if you are doing this on pencil and paper, you're just going to go ahead and draw the bar in, and you can't go quickly for this. With bar graphs, you have to go right to the very line. If you are a little messy or a little careless, well, the reader can't understand your data because they don't know what line it's going to. So you have to draw a clean line at the place you want the bar to stop. If you are doing this on slides, go ahead and do what I did with the one in our last example. You can draw a shape and then drag the shape up to where you want it to be. But like I said, you still have to be a bit careful. So it could be a little tedious, but go slowly, go carefully, and you'll be able to get it. So for this one, you're going to just graph all of our friends, the five children's piggy banks amounts. Let's go to the next one. So you'll see that this one has a tally chart that shows the number of DVDs sold in four shops in a week. So I have the shop A, B, C, and D. So the first thing that I want you to do to remind you of what I spoke to you about yesterday is instead of every single time having to go back and um, and count these tally marks, let's go ahead and let's start writing the value in each. So if you see shop A, count by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20. I know shop A has 20. Go ahead and write into it 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and write in the value that you want or that it says so that you can have that data quickly and you won't have to count with the tally marks. Okay, so third graders, you're going to do the same thing you did in the last worksheet, and you're going to first think, what is the scale? So let's look. We've got where the X and Y axis meet, and it starts at 0 in the corner always. And then you're gonna go, ooh, it goes up by fives. 10, 15, 20. Okay, so I'm thinking that it's going up by fives. So if I'm looking quickly at my tally marks, do I see anything other than fives? No, so we should be good. So you guys are just working on these intervals of 5. I want to give you some options of some websites today where you can create some bar graphs that will give you some like nice graphics when you've given it some data. So your teachers will provide you with these links on their blogs so you can play around today after you complete your workbook pages and have some fun entering some data and creating some of your own bar graphs. We also are going to provide you with a graphing and data collection on Epic. So spend some time today and for the rest of the week looking at the different graphing and data collection books in that collection. So third graders, good luck today. I think that you'll have a very successful time creating a bar graph. Good luck.